Hi everyone, Cari Fennell here. I'm live with Prima. It's beautiful spring day here in central New York where I live, and I'm going to share with you my my garden tag album. This is a kind of a fun album I made. It's not very it's not huge. It's probably, let's see, I have a ruler here. I can even measure this. Um, yeah, the tags are about 8.5 inches in length, and they are 3 3/4 wide. So I'll quickly show you what I started out with. Prima came out with these chipboard tags in winter, so it's a fairly new product, and you get quite a few tags in here. You get 12 of them. This book that I made has 4 tags that I've used, so I'll open it up so you can see. So I've connected all of the tags together to make my book. So the whole idea was to kind of have an accordion fold like that, and it can stand up on its own. I also like that it's easy to kind of move and adjust, because that way you can add some of your embellishments inside and it still closes very nicely and works mechanically. Because sometimes, when you start putting stuff inside your books, you can't really close them very well. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So if you were to make this book, you could get 3 of these books out of one package of the tags, because it comes with 12. So this is kind of a neat idea. You get a lot of bang for your buck. The number on this is 584979. So these should be in stores now on shelves, ready for you to get. There is a smaller set. They're just a little bit smaller, I'd say about, yay big or so, compared to these. So you could even do a smaller version if you wanted to. That is available. The shape of the tag is just a little bit different. Okay, so that's kind of cool. You can get a lot out of one package. Now I'm just going to quickly go over what I did to get started, and I'm going to introduce to you some of the products that I use as I go. If you're looking for a complete list of products, I did list them on the Prima blog last week. If you're on Facebook, we have a Live with Prima group page. Just search Live with Prima on Facebook. You'll find our group. Please request to join. I put all the products there as well. Okay. So I'm going to just kind of get to it here, and I did prep ahead of time so you guys won't have to watch me cut. Please excuse my cutting board. It is not pristine by any means. So I did do these ahead of time for you so you didn't have to sit and watch, but I'm going to do one anyway because I wanted to show you exactly what I did, so you can do this to all 4. Okay, I'm just going to move these aside. Okay, so I started out with my soft gloss gel. This is from our Art Basics line by Finnabair. The number is 961435. So this is basically a heavy-duty adhesive. Okay, and what I love is it dries completely clear, and it is, used for multiple things if you'd like. I also used my Finnabair brush set, which I'm in love with the set. I actually bought a few because I'm a brush destroyer. So I will walk up and leave my table to go feed my kids and forget that I've left glue on the end of my brush. So this number of the set is 962760. It's really worth the investment, I think, for 7 brushes. It comes in a little Ziploc container so you can travel with them. I'm going to use the number the 1-inch brush is what I'm going to use. And I'm just going to show you. So I like to take this, and I get very generous on this chipboard tag, and I'll tell you why. This chipboard is very, very absorbent, so it will suck in your your glue very quickly. So you want to just put a little more on than you think you need, just so that you have time to kind of spread it around. Most importantly, get all of the edges really good. Okay, and you are going to be covering both sides of all 4 tags with the pattern papers. The pattern papers I'm using today are from the Tales of You and Me collection by Frank Garcia. So Frank creates collections for Prima, and his beautiful designs are just so wonderful to work with. Okay, so See, I got a generous amount on there. It's already starting to soak into the chipboard, so you want to work fairly quickly. And then what I do is I just kind of lay it over my pattern paper. So when I do this, what I'm really after is this side, right? Because this is what I want to show. If you wanted this side to show, you would have put the tag on the back. A lot of you may know this, but I also do shows for beginners. So, you know, I do consider that for anybody that's just tuning in or just starting out with paper crafting. I do try to share all these things just to save you a little bit of headache. I'm also using my Prima craft knife. Now, what I love about this is that you can kind of rotate the end. So sometimes when we hold a pen, you know, to write with, we want it to be comfortable in our hand. So sometimes you need to tilt it just a little bit. I don't know if you can see that. So there's a little arrow right here on the handle. Let's see if it'll focus. Okay, see those two arrows are going to line up, but you can twist it just to the side just to make sure that it fits in your hand really, really nicely. Because our hands get tired if we're holding something that is not that comfortable, correct? Plus, we need to go around curves sometimes, not just straight lines. So this actually makes it a little bit nicer for you to go around the curves. So I am going to just get started in this top corner, and what I do is I just kind of bend that blade just ever so slightly when I go around that. And I'm able to do that because there is a little bit of a give to that knife, which makes it really, really nice. All right, oops, I'm cutting into my chipboard. Here we go. All right. So this is what I did for every single one. So I would glue one side down, let the glue settle, cut it out. Let's see. Yeah, I got that pretty good. Oops. And I just put a new blade on, so this baby is really, really sharp, and it's cutting into my chipboard, which is very silly. Okay. Plus, I'm not right over my cutting, so yeah. Okay. So just real nice. And in case you're wondering, we do have replacement blades for these, but also in the handle, if you remove it, you get a variety of other blades. So there's a blade for all kinds of things like chiseling and really doing some heavy duty, like thicker materials. So they all come with the knife itself. Okay, and those are just hidden right here. Plus you can put your extra replacement blades if you use the standard one more. You can put a couple of those in there too, just if you're on the go and you want to keep cutting. Okay, very good. So I've showed you how to glue it down. You're going to put paper down on both sides. You're going to cut out. Now, don't worry if your cutting isn't amazing or precise or anything like that, because what I'm going to do with this particular project is use my distressor tool. So I know it seems like Cari's doing Prima Tool Day on Live with Prima today, but I kind of am. And these are my go-to tools. So even if you don't cut perfectly like around this edge, don't even worry about it, because what we're going to do is take this file here, and we're just going to kind of go along the edges. So that's going to get rid of the weird jagged lines if you have any, you know. And what I like to do is just kind of run it right along the edge. Then with the fine side, I will go and take off any little pills or, you know, any little things that are still kind of hanging on for dear life. So we're going to get rid of those. Now, what's also cool is that we have this curve, and this file will fit within that curve. So I'm just going to rasp around that with my rough edge, smooth it out with my fine file, and then move on. Okay. So there's several ways you can do this. You definitely want a craft mat underneath, and you're just going to keep going like that. Okay. And do the rough and then do the fine, just to get rid of those extra little paper pieces. Okay, so this is going to be a lot of filing. It is going to make a mess. You know, keep your dust buster handy or like a damp rag so that, you know, you can get all those little paper pieces up and they don't get into everything else. Okay, so this is what I do, and I just love this because this handle fits so comfortably in my hand. Even though I have a lot of filing to do, my hand never really gets that tired, so to speak, especially for those of us that, you know, have worked with our hands for a while. And, you know, I used to waitress, so my hands are, you know, they've seen some action over the years. Okay, so now I'm going to hold this up so that you can kind of see what I did here. Can you see that? Like I just went down to the core of the paper. I smoothed out all the edges, and that paper is perfect over the ends of the tag, right? No big deal. Okay. Before I cover the other side, which I will, not today, but before you do that, you may want to make sure you punch your hole so that when you cover this side, you'll have your hole, you'll know where to punch when you go to do that, okay? If you forget to do it, use one of the ones you haven't used yet as your template and cut your hole. All right, so the other thing I like to do too, and this is also optional, but I didn't do this on my original book, but I will show you. I really like working with archival ink because it is a solvent ink. This archival ink actually spreads really, really well. It's very soft on the edges. Plus, it's not going to come back off on my fingers. It's a permanent ink, okay? And when I'm working with something like this, I'm going to be manipulating it a lot. I don't want it all over my fingers. So you can go ahead and just add a little bit of ink to that with your blending tool or whatever you have. A sponge. Some people like to use makeup sponges or whatever. So that is an option. You can certainly go along and ink your edges. I left the white paper core showing because I like that. Okay, so just an option. All right, so let's just sort of fast forward. You're going to do 4 of these, all different kinds of papers, right? The papers that I chose to use today are, here, I'm just going to stick my brush in water so I don't stick it to everything else. Okay, so the Tales of You and Me collection, absolutely beautiful. Pinks, plums, you know, some creams and whites all mixed into one paper line. What more could you ask for? Okay, so these are kind of hard to name because I don't speak French. Contes de toi et moi. Okay, and the number is 990817. So if you don't want to listen to me say these, just buy one of every paper. There's 6 papers in this line. Look how beautiful this one is. It's got all the roses and it's got like kind of script in the background, just real pretty. The next one I used, Jardin Fleurs, yes, 990831. It's got this beautiful little fence, filigree fence and ironwork in the background with more flowers and script. This paper, I would say, is kind of a real dark eggplant or plum with some gray in it. It's kind of purple and gray together. Then this is what you just saw me use. This has beautiful, sweet, soft roses around the border, a crackle finish with a cream colored background, a little bit of script. Okay, this one is called Butte Cachee. I don't know if I say that right, but that's what it's called. 990848. Beautiful little clusters of roses throughout the, throughout the paper. Great background. And then the other side's just kind of a nice, solid, so to speak, paper to use with the rest. And again, that plum grayish color with some script in the background. Okay. Belles Melodies d'Amour. Okay. Oh, so the camera's going to just, it does not like my horrible French words. So this one is 990824. Please forgive my horrible, non-existent French language. Notre Jardin Secret. I think that is Secret Garden. I think. Notes of a Secret Garden, maybe? 990800. Again, that beautiful kind of little gate with the flowers. This has more of a purpley background, almost like a blueprint blue, kind of pretty. And then again, just another paper with all kinds of little fun details in the background, very subtle, very dreamy, very garden-esque, very shabby chic. Okay. Oh, I was very good. Oh, thank you. Oh gosh, I have French speaking friends on here, and I just know I'm butchering this. I'm so sorry. Okay, so what I did is I took all those papers and I covered both sides of the tag. So I just kind of wanted a little bit of variety. And let's see, I think I did it like this. So you've got a little bit of the flowers. I laid out my book, so let's pretend that it's this, okay? So I said, all right, this is how I want them to look. I laid them out all together, just like this. I got blue ink on it. I don't know how, but that's just how my day's been going. Okay. And I said, okay, here are my pages. So the opposite side, like this is going to be the cover, right? So this is going to be page number 1. This will be the cover. And then they're all different on the back too. So pick whichever patterns you like from these papers and use them. And you will get multiple tags covered out of all of those papers. Okay. Next, what I did is I took the Spark stencil. So the Spark stencil I was showing everybody before the show has a really sweet little pointed kind of pattern to it. Do you see that? And I tend to like to use stencils that are more to scale with what the surface I'm working on. So this is a thinner surface, smaller, so I want to work with a smaller stencil because a little bit of this will go a long way. And what I did when I laid these all out together, I took this stencil. I kind of already stenciled, so I'm not going to do it again. I did it just for the sake of, you guys have watched a stencil. But I did grab a small palette knife and the Art Basics light paste. It's an opaque paste, so it dries kind of almost not quite true white. It's mixes in with the paper a little bit better. It doesn't stand out. The number is 961404. The light paste is nice for projects you don't want to, you know, you want them to be nice and fluffy and light. You don't want it to weigh it down. On a bigger project, something with weight or girth to it, you could use just the standard modeling paste. I like the light paste for this project. So what I did is I grabbed a little bit of that light paste and I just kind of went in little bits and areas, like all around. But I picked up the stencil, turned it upside down, and did it again. Just a little here, a little bit here. Now don't go too crazy because remember that most of our embellishments and everything we're decorating the page with is going to go in the center of the book. Okay. So I'm going to do the front cover just to show you guys. Okay. I hope the camera behaves. Okay. So let's say I want to do just a little bit down here, a little bit over here on the edge. And again, I don't need to use a lot, just a little bit. I'm going to pull that up and it's just showing up a little here and a little here. Now I'm going to flip it up because this is still wet, so don't put it back down in the wet spots. Okay, and again, just a little bit. This is just to accent. It's not to cover your entire piece. Okay, because again, we're decorating this. We're not going to see a whole lot of it. All right, so I don't know where I'm going to set this over here. All right, so can you see that? That little bit of stencil magic? So you just added a little bit of texture. It's not perfect. And I wanted just a little bit, like a little bit here on the side. So when I start to add my art mediums, it's just going to kind of pull that and add a little bit of interest, but we don't need a whole lot. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to give this a quick zap because I want it to dry so I can start working on it. Sorry about that. I tried to keep the drying time down to a minimum because, well, you know, we don't try to go on forever in the show, and you certainly don't want to sit here and watch me dry stuff. At least I don't think you do. I apologize for the messiness of my mat, but, you know, honestly, this is how I work, and this is real life right here. You know, I ruin paintbrushes and keep a messy craft mat. Usually you can tell it's somewhat dry when you touch it and nothing comes off, you know, but this dries pretty quick. I mean, it's not going to take forever. And when you go to put the paper down on the tags too, I mean, the soft gloss gel will dry fast, all of this stuff. Okay, so feel pretty good about that so far. All right. So now I know I just did that, but I'm going to go back to where I was. I want to go back to the inside of my book because I like to work on flat surfaces. If I do the cover of the book first, it's going to be really bumpy and hard to work with all of this out like that. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to actually start with my art mediums, and I'll show you exactly what I did. Okay, so I have Empress Gold Color Bloom Spray. It's 580315. I also have Vintage Gold Color Bloom Spray, or I'm sorry, Antique Gold, and the number is 573843. Okay, so I'm adding a little bit of glimmer and shine. And then my other favorite is called Frost. So Frost is our new white one. Well, it's fairly new in the Color Bloom family. And this number is 582890. And this happens to be my favorite white of all time because it actually shows up as white on all kinds of pattern paper. Dark, light, doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of spritz a little bit. This is just priming my paper just so that I can add my sprays and still keep it kind of workable. I did not cover these with clear gesso. I didn't feel like I really needed to. Sorry, I'm going to get my spray mat down. A dirty spray mat. Okay. You can cover it with the clear gesso to protect the paper if you want to, but it's not really necessary with this because I'm not manipulating a whole lot. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the Empress Gold, and I'm just going to pull back on the trigger ever so slightly and kind of let it out. And sometimes we go, oops, we spray. That's okay. Don't panic. Okay. So I'm going to kind of work that around with my fingers, not too hard. And if you get weird splotches like this, just add a little water and that'll move it around a little bit. So be very gentle with this one because you can start to pill up the paper if you start rubbing with your finger a little too vigorously. Okay. So I'm just kind of moving that color bloom around. I don't want it to look like I did anything on purpose. It's just kind of moved around. And I did it in the areas where I have some of the stenciling going on. Okay, I've got a little bit more to do over here. Again, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on in the center, so we don't need to be too concerned about that. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of brush that around with my fingers, just kind of smooth it out. I'm not being awfully careful. I just kind of want it to look messy. And I do want it to catch some of the stenciling I've already done. So hopefully that's showing up okay. Okay. So again, I'm just going to kind of keep it moist. And I'm going to go with this color. This is a very scary color because it is very dark. Okay. So what I did is I treaded lightly with this. I actually took my distress tool and I whacked that little nozzle because I don't trust myself with the spray nozzle. I could just, you know, try to get a little splatter with it and I will just go and I'll have a big old dark spot, right? We don't want that. Okay. So again, I'm going to do that over here. Is everybody following me okay? Does anybody have any questions so far? I'm kind of moving at a steady pace here. Anybody watching the recording later can pause it, start up again just to catch up if they want to play along. But I kind of keep it moving along so that we can try to fit in as much as possible. There we go. Okay, so even though the paper's a little bit wet, some of these dots are going to kind of smooth out as well. But I really like how it's looking so far. Okay. And last but not least, now I don't want my paper oversaturated for this part because I actually do want the white to stay white, and I don't want it diluted with a lot of water. Sorry, I'm just trying to clean a little spillage as I go. And actually, it's not too bad. So what I'm going to do is take this, shake it up really, really good, get a lot of that white pigment off the bottom of my bottle. And I'm going to do pretty much the same thing that I just did. I'm going to whack this. And I can whack, you know, from close or far away, whatever I need to do. So I'm going to see some really pretty white splatters going on here. And I don't care if they're neat or messy or anything like that. I do this with like kind of a tool that's got a little bit of a hard handle because it seems to make nice spatters. Yeah. If I tap it with my finger, hardly anything happens, just so you know. Okay. Okay, so the paper is still a little damp, so some of it is kind of soaking in, and that's fine with me. It's going to look messy. It's not supposed to look like anything perfect because, again, this is just our background, right? This is just adding a little bit of extra color, a little added interest, making it look aged. Okay. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to lift up one so you can see the white and how it's supposed to look. All right, where's the other one? I don't want to, and you want to make sure you don't spill anything either, or try not to. Let's see. So let's see if we can have that focus. You can see that gold, but see how the white just kind of pops up over the top? And it's very subtle, but it just adds to the paper, and you can see a little shimmer of that gold going on. Okay? And you can keep doing this until you're completely happy with the way that it looks. So I'm going to go ahead and dry this just to give it a little less tackiness. And I've been adding water and manipulating, and these tags are not bowing or bending or anything like that, nothing of the sort. So, and all of this stuff can really take the heat really well. So I can get right in there and just dry this baby up. And I didn't add a ton of water. Remember, I just kind of lightly misted. But the white color bloom spray, it's called Frost. It literally is a true white, and it does show up over light surfaces, dark surfaces, and it kind of has like that chalky finish. So if you're looking for a chalkboard look or finish, it's a great spray to use for that as well. Okay. Perfect. So now what I also did from one of my papers, let's see which one here. So from this guy here, I actually did cut out some of the cards. I actually used these kind of 4 sections. So you could cut right down the middle, save this for another project, okay? Because this is very, very pretty. I didn't want to cover it up. And it seemed to make sense to use the plainer pieces for the centers of the pages. Like this one, when I cut it, I wasn't fond of it, so I actually ended up using the rose side. All right. And that is the paper that's called Contes de Toi et Moi. And it's the 817 paper. All right. So I cut these babies down, as you can see, and I left some in the rose, so you don't have to use the background. I just kind of cut it down. And I'm going to tell you what the measurements are for these right now. So it's 3 1/4 wide by 4 1/2. So 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. And these are going to be my fancy little cards that go in the middle here. And you can see I did use, oh no, that's not the one I want. This one. I want this one. Okay, so I like the one that said simple things, and I like the one with the little antique bottle over here. All right, and then I'm going to grab some foam tape and just plop that right in the middle. You can distress the edges of these papers as well, like you did the edges of your tags. It's totally up to you. You can also ink the edges of your papers, so consider that for time-wise. Let's see. Okay. And these I kind of staggered. So like I went up a little bit on my page. This is another reason why I like having these all laid out together so that I can kind of stagger them and have them look evenly. Okay, so like this one I have down just a little further. Yes. And I'm going to even that out. Okay. I'm just getting rid of these little tabby things. Okay. And this one, so when they're all lined up, I can kind of eye it and see where the first one was and just try to get them about the same. Okay. Looks about right. Let's see. A couple more. I know, I love foam tape, and that's why I made this album the way I did, because I do want some dimension. So when I go to put my little photos on here, they're going to be kind of raised up and they're not going to get lost in all the embellishments that I want to add as well. Okay, so again, just kind of having it up that way. That's about even. Okay, so that's the first step right there. Next, I want to punch my holes. So this first page is going to have 2 holes here, right? Let me show you on the original book. So I have holes here. Holes, actually there's going to be 4 holes in the second page, 4 holes in the third page, 2 holes in the last page. Okay, so it goes 2, 4, 4, 2. Okay, and there wasn't really any rocket science to this. I actually used the smaller hole on my crocodile, and you can see on the crocodile it only goes in so far, right? And there's usually a little lever in here where you can measure it exactly, and it'll only let the paper go in so far. But I was fine with it going all the way in. So I am going to have it go all the way in from the end, and I am going to do it right about there. Okay, and now I'm going to do the exact same thing here. And I'm going to just kind of eyeball that. If you want to measure exactly, if that matters, you can use a ruler which has a 0 center or center ruler. Let's see. So let's say here's the 0, and you could take it, make sure that the ruler is going to measure from here to here, right? Not the curve, because this is where we're going to put our holes. So let's say, I think it's about right, just at the 4s. Okay, so there's 4s here. Then what you could do is take a pen, and there's little tiny holes here throughout the ruler. And you could take that pen and stick it right in that little hole on either end and make your marks and then punch it that way as well. That's if you really, want to make sure that it's even Steven. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to match up these 2 tags, and I am going to use that little pen I just had, and I don't know why I put it away, but I did. And I'm just going to mark my holes like that. Okay, I'm going to punch these 2 first. So it should be, oh gosh, I think I need a little WD-40 on my crocodiles. It sounds like it's in trouble. Okay, so, all right, so now I've got 2 new holes, and when I line them up, they're matching perfectly. Now remember, for this one we need 4. Okay, no big deal. So what I'm going to do is take those 2 original holes, okay, and I'm going to put these together again. Yep. And I'm going to do the other side. Okay. So make sure they're lined up good, pretty much even. All right. I can't even see. Oh, there's a hole. I was like, I used the pen mark. I don't even know where it is. Okay. I'm going to just go ahead. Okay, my paper is in the way, but that's okay. I can fix that. I can move it down. Gosh, I hate that those little things stay in there. Okay, so now I've got the 4 holes that I need. I've got stuff. Okay, so do you see it needs to be 4 because these all need to connect. So I'll just keep going through. Now I have one with 4 holes. I can just use this as a template for the next one. Easy peasy. Let me see if I can move this paper down just a little bit. It's bugging me that it's kind of covering up that hole, and that's going to cause problems for me later. I just know it will. And this is how I really craft. I pull things apart and put them back together. And I'm going to use a little extra glue since I pulled it off. Okay, I'm just going to move it down a little bit from the holes. This is what happens when you can't edit. You got to do it just how you did it. Okay. Again, mark my holes. I'm just using a little pen, you know, nothing spectacular. I'm going to line these 2 up. And make my marks. Okay. Now, why am I doing this now? Well, simply because if I want to start embellishing this book, I want to make sure that I'm not going to be embellishing it where the holes need to go, right? So, like, you don't want to put a flower somewhere and then all of a sudden, you know, you've got to drill a hole through it. See, I just went through that one too. I can probably lower that one. I'm not going to worry about that right now. So that's why I'm doing this now, so that we don't have to be too concerned about it once we start decorating and adding our fun stuff. So I hope that makes sense, everybody. You know, and you could just sit and make a bunch of these at one time. Oh, I don't know if that's the right place. Okay, and some of these darker pattern papers, it's a little harder to see. That, or I have that, and I have 43-year-old eyes, so can't really see too well. Okay, perfect. Got it. Okay. So then that's done. So now when we go to embellish, we'll know exactly where to embellish. We don't need to worry, right? I'm trying to save you steps so that you don't go, oh gosh, I did this. I should have done that. Let me make all the mistakes first and show you what not to do. And then you guys should be good to go. All right, I'm just again lining these up because I have to move this little piece of paper down. It's bothering me. Yes. Okay, there we go. I think that's fine. Okay, perfect, right? We're good. It's starting to come together, right? Am I right? Okay. So the next thing I want to do is start adding some of my ephemera. And this comes in a pack with metal charms. I'm going to pour these out and show them to you. Metal charms and little glass vials. And there's little cork toppers. Well, there's mine are missing. I don't know where they are. And they go in the bottles, and then you have these really fun little heart charms that have beautiful little, you know, flowers embedded in them, and just real pretty little guys, right? And then we have all these little tiny paper pieces. So the paper pieces, I don't know, it's 62 pieces. So my goodness, look at all you have. So you're going to have plenty left over to use in second book, third book, whatever you want to do. Because I certainly did not use all of these. All right. There's even little tiny ones that I find out in my vacuum cleaner and all over my scrap area. Okay. So what we're going to do is start putting those on. And I have to sift through here and see what I have so that I can try and put the same things on that I used. All right. So there's tickets, there's tags, all kinds of fun stuff. So like here's a ticket. And yeah, I probably should have just pulled these apart and set them aside earlier. I wasn't thinking. It's all right. I know it's in here somewhere. Okay, I'm going to save the bird for the cover, right? I got the bird and the bingo card for the cover. So those I'm going to set aside because I know I'm going to use those. All right. And I think I'll use this like fun little ruler piece. I'm just going to rip it in half. And what I like to do is I kind of like to use them not just as pretty little added things, but I like to kind of layer them together and make it look kind of like collagey, like it's supposed to be in the paper. Yeah. and layer them like this. So they're fun little accent pieces. Yes. Let's see what I have. Then I have this fun little, pretty little tag. It's got little flowers and stuff on it. And another little pink, I don't know what it is, but it's in there. And I love it. So I'm going to go ahead and stick that down. And I'm only putting glue, like I'm not putting glue at this top part because I don't want it to glue to the background because I have foam tape here. It will look weird. So just add a little bit where you know you're going to be sticking it down. Okay. And see how I like to just kind of layer these little die cut pieces together. And then when you put your photo here, you're just going to see a little bit. So, you know, that's why I kind of have them hanging off, because my photo is going to go right here, right? So we want to just see these guys just kind of peeking out just a little bit. All right, next is a fun little note card. Let's see if I can find it. Oh my gosh, there's so many pretty things in here, like flowers and oh my gosh, look at this little bird tag. Isn't he cute? I'm going to use him right over here. And again, I'm going to just kind of have that tag popped up over the top of the paper. And let's see. This is another one that just has like another little bird and it says note. That's cute. Okay, so I'm just going to put glue along the top of it, right? And I'm going to have it just sticking down here at the bottom of that one. And let's see, I have another little piece that goes up here. Let's see if I can find it quickly. Hopefully I can. Yeah, you could just sit here and go through all these pieces forever. And I have that little tube just kind of poking out right there. Okay. Can you guys see everything okay? Is it still good for you guys? Just want to make sure. Okay. Next, I'm going to add my flowers. So I have Prima came out with these new box flowers. They're called box flowers because they come in a box. But what's special about these is each box comes with a different style flower. They're usually in neutrals and they have like just a little bit of difference in pattern or size to them. But this particular box is called Purity 2 and it comes with leaves. So you don't have to buy leaves separately and they do come in different sizes. So you get a nice little variety of the leaves. Now what I went ahead and did, which is what you're going to want to do before you kind of get going, is I sprayed my leaves ahead of time. So I sprayed them with the Lime Wedge Color Bloom Spray. And that is 573850. Okay. And I sprayed them kind of from far away because I want them to be nice and light and spring-like. And the box flower number is 586669. Okay, so all of these leaves came in this box of flowers. Now, I may not use all of them, but I colored them all anyway. Okay? That's just how I roll. So now what I did next is I took out my white flowers and I just kind of tucked them underneath the little cards. And I just wanted them around the note cards. I didn't go super crazy with flowers. I wanted another one right here. He's kind of over the note card. Okay. All right, I've got another one here. Let's see. And some of these you can peel apart. So if it's a little too big and you really want to use it, or you think it's a little too bulky, you can peel it apart and take a layer off. That's always an option. Okay, I'm going to do a little guy right here. Okay. And another one up here. Why not? Just like so. Okay, so that looks pretty good for now. I didn't use any of the green leaves on the inside. I used something else, which I'll show you in just a sec. Next, I went to, these flowers are from the Relics and Artifacts collection. What I love about these is these are kind of boutique type flowers and very old-fashioned looking, and I'll show you why. So I don't know if you can see, but they are very, very lush. They're velvety, they're layered, there's detail, and there's just a little bit of sparkle to each petal. There's even a little fabric leaf on one of them. So these are like little kind of like corsages. They're put together. What I like to do is when I see something like this, I know that I immediately will be cutting these apart and using them individually. Okay, so these are again called, the name is Cocoa Bean 942755. And I thought that these added just a nice little touch to what I wanted to use them for. Okay, so I'm going to save the tan ones for the cover. And I'm going to use the little creamy white ones throughout. And let's see, grab my scissors. So these guys, I'm just going to use one per page. I believe one per page sounds good. Okay, so probably tuck one there. So whenever, I think I've said this on many videos before, and of course people who take my classes more than once knows that I always go my largest flower to my smallest flower. To me, it's the easiest way for me to build up my clusters and work with multiple types of flowers and leaves and all kinds of stuff that I really enjoy working with to build them up. I think it makes everything more interesting. But if you start with a large flower first, then you're really kind of tucking and weaving and adding all the other little goodies around it. And the same for the leaves. The leaves I always add last. And people look at me really weird when I say that, but I always put my leaves in where my flowers are, but where it needs to be, there's probably a little space or something there that where it needs to be kind of filled in. Okay, and the last flower I'm going to use is called Intermezzo. It's from our Vintage Emporium collection. So these are nice little perfect flowers for accents, but also for cards and planners and anything like that. The number is 586577, and I use just the creamy tan and the white ones throughout. I didn't really use the red ones or the brown ones. They didn't really fit this line. It goes again like what I said before with Vintage Emporium. So I don't really want this dark red or the dark brown to go in this particular book, but they're certainly all great flowers. And you get 120 flowers in this little pack. So a little bit goes a long way. All right. You don't need a lot. Okay. So again, I'm just going to tuck in a couple of these guys. I'll put one here. I'll put one down here. Maybe going like this. And do you see how the clusters are just kind of building themselves up? I guess I kind of went with the tan ones, didn't I? You're just kind of doing that and it's all coming together and they look really cute. And what you also can do down here at this corner, I added just a couple more little guys. Okay, I'm going to tuck it under that little note card. So there's a cream one and a little tan one together. Okay, so I'm trying to spread these out so you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. All right, grab some more tan colored ones. Okay. And I'm keeping in mind where my photos are going to go this whole time. So the photo might cover a little bit of like a half of a flower or a little corner of a flower. That's fine. I'm not going to put a flower here because this is where my photo is going to go, right? So take a photo, not one you're going to use in the book, but always use it. Put it there and see where you can put your flowers to make sure they're not going to get covered up. I kind of like to use any photo as like a template so that I know where to put my flowers. Okay. That's always a good idea. I always just keep one in on my table, any random one, the wallet size or whatever size you're going to use for something like this. Okay. Oops, that one's missing a little center. Oh well, that's fine. That's fine. And see how like with my wet glue, I'm still able to kind of push them around and manipulate them. Whereas like with a sticky tape, you're kind of stuck, once you put it down, you can't really kind of slide it to the left or to the right just right. You know, you may look at it and go, I wish I kind of had that over to the side a little more. Well, this Fabri-Tac glue will allow you to do that. It just kind of gives you, it grabs, but it gives you a little wiggle room so that you can play. All right, next. Really, the inside pages are going pretty quickly. I know this class is going to be a little bit longer than normal, but I don't care. Do you guys care? I don't care. Okay, I've got flowers everywhere. It's turning into complete carnage as usual in my class. Okay, so what I also did, you remember how I told you that I sprayed the leaves green? Well, you're going to have like some scrap papers, some weird pieces left over after you're done cutting out your tags. So like I would cut this piece of paper off, spray it with the green color bloom spray, and then I've taken my favorite Martha Stewart punch. It's called Branch. Can you see that? It's called Branch. And I just punched out a bunch of these little guys from my leftover papers. So I love these because like they're really fine and delicate, but can you see the green on them already? And they really were perfect for just kind of tucking in, and they added not just texture, but a little bit of color and a little bit of interest. So I'm addicted to these, and you'll see that a lot of my projects recently I've probably been using it way too much. So go grab yours from your favorite store that carries your art supplies, because I don't know, I love them. I actually own 4 of them, so I can use them in classes, of course, because I teach classes for stores as well as online and things like that. So I did not buy them all, I promise. There's still some left, but it really is one of my favorites. And I'll show you in just a sec how sweet it looks. Like I can see a little bit of glue behind it, but it's not the end of the world. Do you see how sweet that looks? It's just a little extra added touch, right? It's very delicate. Again, I didn't use anything too heavy. I didn't go too crazy. I just kind of, but I had fun with this. Okay, and the next page, I'm just going to tuck a couple in here and there around. I mainly use these around the white flowers. Like wherever I put the big white flowers is where I use these, just as little accents. But you can go crazy. You can put them wherever you like. You know, some people like some people are addicted to the edge punches. I'm addicted to like the little leaf punches. Seriously. Okay, so I'm just adding these around. I hope you can see. If you can't see, I apologize. I will show these each page up close once I finish gluing everything down that I've got to get down. Okay. All right. I did punch some out too from like the purpley paper, because I thought that those could look kind of cool too. Like not all of them are sprayed green. Some of these have that kind of plum color. I think that would be a really interesting one to add too, just for color, to bring in some of that plum color. And you can even lift up some of these petals and tuck these in between the flower petals too. Okay, just a couple more. And then we're going to add just a little bit of some fun little art ingredients, and then the inside will be pretty much done. And then I'll work on the cover. Because the cover is really fun too. I mean, that's just as easy. It's just a matter of, you know, playing and arranging your flowers and everything. Okay, so I put another one. So you just put these wherever you like. You know, they're not going to look bad no matter where you put them. But again, I like to just kind of tuck in as I go. Okay, so next we're going to make kind of a mess. Just a little mess. I'm actually going to try and see. I don't know if the camera's going to like it too much, but I do need to, well, no, I'll just leave my craft mat here for now. Okay, next I'm going to grab a mixture of different art ingredients that I really love. Okay, now I picked these based on the colors that I have and some accents and things that I wanted to add to this book. So I have some art sugar, which is like a fairy dust kind of real fine sugar in white. And the number is 961800. And then I have the glass beads in licorice. So they're kind of plum and purpley. I don't know if you can, let's see. Can you see that? Like they match the Tales of You and Me paper perfectly. The number is 961688. And then I have some micro beads. So the micro beads are in copper. You see those? They're kind of shiny. They add a lot of little texture. And this is 962579. So I have these little guys here. I'm going to get my soft gloss gel back out. Now, I want to use gloss because the surfaces of the glitter, the beads are shiny. So when I mix them in with the glue, I want them to dry shiny. I don't want that shiny to go away. If you do, then use the matte gel. Okay, that's going to give you a much different look. Okay, so let's see. Where'd those awesome brushes go that I had? Ah, here they are. So I find that over the years, I've added these kind of ingredients to my projects in many different ways, and I find that this is probably the easiest way just to do this. Now, I'm going to do the same thing to the backgrounds, much like I do my flowers. I'm going to start with the biggest thing, so that would be the glass beads and licorice. So I'm going to dip that paintbrush in the glue. I'm going to grab some of those beads with the glue on it, and I'm just almost going to just paint those on. Now I'm going to be kind of rolling them off. Yeah, there's a big glob of glue in there. That's no problem. I'll pick it up with my brush and just kind of spread that on there. I find that sometimes this is a little bit easier. I'm going to lift this up so you can see. See where I put the beads. So you'll see some of the white from the glue. Don't worry about that. That'll dry clear. All right. So I'm going to keep doing that on each page. And like I said, I just want to add a little bit of accent here and there. So a little bit on the top, a little bit on the bottom, wherever I have some, you know, flowers added, or maybe the little ephemera or whatever, you know, you can just keep adding. And this is not a science. This is not a perfect science. Now, if you don't want to get glue in your glass beads, you can always just pour them out into the lid, pick up again, and just sort of brush them on. Not being too neat here. So another thing I like to do after I get all these on is I will go back over with another layer of glue and seal them. So I'll show you what I mean in just a second. Okay, so you can put these in the flower petals, put them around anywhere you like. Okay. Yeah, so this time of day, usually my boys start coming home and eating and making all kinds of noise. So hopefully they'll be nice and considerate today and not make too much noise when they come in. If they do, I apologize early. Okay, so again, I'm just kind of spreading these out. I know, you kind of get the drift, right? So glue, picking up beads, spreading them around, kind of moving around with that brush so I don't have to get any glue on my fingers if I don't want to. Some of them are just plopping down wherever they feel like on my book. No problem. Well, the other thing I love about this gel is that we can speed up the dry time with the heat gun. It's not a problem. You can put the heat gun right to this gel. It'll work fine. Okay, am I off camera? Sometimes you know, you get in your mode and just keep going. Yeah. I don't want too big of a cluster either here or there. I just like to kind of work it out. All right. I know I'm getting quiet because I'm concentrating on my beads. Okay. Perfect. So I've got some beads going on here next. I'll move on to my micro beads. So for the micro beads, you can do the same thing. Just put a little glue on your brush. Okay, add your little accents in there wherever you like. A little bit goes a long way. And I'm just twirling the brush, adding a little here and there. Okay, I'm going to hold that up so you can see. You guys see the beads? Hey, let's see. There we go. Do you see how they're just kind of getting spread all over? Kind of messy. I'm not being that careful, but kind of cool. The micro beads are a little bit easier to do with this method, just saying. The big chunky beads, you know, they don't want to cooperate as much. That's okay. So I'm just twirling, twisting my brush, and moving along. Does anybody have any questions so far? Is anybody making Mother's Day gifts yet, or working on wedding or anything like that for this coming spring or summer? I'm just always curious what people are working on. I like to know. I'm nosy. Oh, thanks, you guys. Okay. If some of your beads come off in the process, just dip it back into the glue and just add them back on wherever they go. I think I'm going to add. I'll probably go look at this later, and then once everything's dry, I can even go back in and say, you know, I'd like maybe some more beads here, maybe some up here, and that you can totally do. You can add those later on once you look at it and you say, it's missing a little bit here, it looks too plain there. You know, that's the beauty of this technique, is you can go back when everything's dry and just keep adding more. Okay, and now while the glue is still kind of wet over the beads and the micro beads, what I like to do is I just kind of take a little pinch with my finger of the sugar and I just sprinkle it over, because guess what? There's plenty of glue exposed from, you know, dipping it in the paintbrush and everything. It'll stick to wherever that glue is still exposed from the beads. So this, you will have to get your hand a little bit dirty. Okay. And that's really kind of cool, because that actually helps dry up the drying, speed up the drying time, because it's covering any wet glue that's exposed. Okay. And I just want it for just a little accent. Like, I'm not pouring it on, and I'm not being, you know, over generous with it. I just want a little accent. So that's what I did with those 3 things within the inside of the book. Now, because I'm impatient, I want to keep going, I can just take my heat gun and zap wherever I put the beads, and that'll help get that glue settled and dry without a problem. Of course, you don't want to like leave it there for a minute and let it get scorched, but it will dry quickly for you. It's already working, it's already dry. And the heat gun, of course, will blast off any of the extra glitter that you have that maybe didn't stick to any glue, which is fine too. If you don't mind glitter like all over your craft area, I mean, if you do, then, you know, just skip the whole art sugar step if you want. All right. Okay. So now if you were concerned too that they may not all stay where you put them, just take that glue and just kind of dab over them and kind of reinforce wherever they may lay. Because once you've dried it, they stay in place. So now I'm actually able to go back over them with the glue. They stay put because I've already dried the glue. So now I can go back over with another layer and they won't ever move. Well, hopefully. Okay, so see that? So I can just go ahead and put another layer on there, and then, you know, they'll never come off. Which, after you do all that hard work, you don't want them to come off, right? Get a little too much glue right there. I can just pick that up on my finger. There we go. And then you dry it, and they're sealed. And because it's a glossy gel, they'll stay shiny. So you have shiny beads, you know, all over the town. Perfect. Okay, so last but not least, now when I did this, I wanted to make sure that I just went over the cover for you. Okay, so the cover, again, very much similar to what we were doing, but now it's not that bulky here, so I don't really kind of mind working on the cover here. The cover is very bulky, so that would have been a much different story. So remember what we did. We took the Empress Gold, kind of went over the watered areas, the stenciled areas, right? Just like so. And then I'm going to tap, tap, tap. Make sure you move your other stuff away too, by the way. So you don't splatter all over the inside pages that you made so beautiful just now. Okay. I mean, you can if you want to, but I don't think you do. Okay. Just kind of dipping it in, giving a little splatter, splatter. Adding a little more texture. And this stuff, it comes out really dark. Don't be scared, because it actually dries really light, like actually dries before your eyes in a much lighter tone. All right, and I'm going to zap this real quick. And I'm going to do the same thing with the white, remember? Oh, I love that white. I'm just so in love with it. Looks good. Looks good. Make sure you wear old clothes. I should have mentioned that earlier. Because, I mean, the Color Bloom spray is water soluble. It's supposed to come out. But I have discovered that there are certain colors that do not come out of your clothes. The chrome is one of them for sure. I put the chrome colored one, that silver one. It didn't come out of my white shirt. So that was a big bummer. I'm going to pick this up. Get rid of all my splatters in case I move this around. Okay. So, one cool thing, I'm going to set this aside to dry. I discovered something really cool. Now, if you're part of the Facebook group for Live with Prima, there was a discussion about how to cut our very intricate dies using your machine and getting all of the little holes out, okay? So here I have my Sizzix. I don't know, it's my Sizzix machine. I have a magnetic platform, so that's the beginning of my... Let's see, I don't even know if I can get, oh yeah, I can. So and this is just like your regular white platform that yours comes with. I bought a magnetic one, okay? The next thing I got, and this is the new find. This is the brand new one that I got. Because someone on the group said, this works awesome. So this is called the Precision Base Plate. Okay, so it's like a thin, heavy kind of metal. I don't know what it's made out of, but this is the precision plate that you use for real thin dies. And someone said use it. She actually uses 2. Now I didn't find that I bought 2, but I didn't really need 2. Okay, so now I have those 2 things together. All right, so remember, Precision Base Plate by Sizzix. It's black. It goes in the Big Shot. And I think it'll work in your Big Shot Plus if you have the bigger one too. Okay, so then my trick is now, in the sandwich, I have the die, and I actually have the cut side up. So this is the flat side, smooth. This is the cut side. So I have that sitting up. Now because of my magnetic plate, it's supposed to hold the thing in place. It's not really working because I have this extra thing on here. All right, so then I put my paper, and then I just use my regular clear plate. Just the regular one that comes with the machine, right? You get 2 of these, and I only need 1 because I'm using this precision base plate. So now I'm going to run this baby through. And you don't really have to go back and forth, but if you're like me and you're just kind of obsessive compulsive, you know, you can do that. Okay, so I'm going to take this apart, get rid of that, and now I'm left with the paper in there. Okay, let me move this out of the way. So that's the magic sandwich. Then I take my Spellbinders tool-in-one. It has this really fun rotating brush. Okay, and I'm just going to grab a piece of pattern paper so that I can do this. So that rotating brush, you're going to go over the cuts, the paper, or I'm sorry, the other side with the paper still in it, and you're just going to run it over the entire thing. Okay, really good, like this and like this. And this literally gets out all those annoying little bits. Okay, and then they're all over your hand. Just do this over, if it weren't for the live show, I'd be doing this over a garbage can, just for my sanity, so I wouldn't have little bits all over. Okay, now there's little holes that are in the die where you can poke something through, like wherever here's my craft knife. So I can just poke it through that top little hole there. I do it in a couple places. Helps me get it started. Sometimes after I do the roller thingy, the tool-in-one, it starts to come out on its own. So rarely do you have to really kind of poke that through. But I'm going to pull it out now. Nope, and that's the pattern paper, sorry. And there it is. That's the magic sandwich. Yes, and you can use fabric softener sheets, dryer sheets, I heard work. But I'm in love with this tool, and it has a little poker thingy that goes on this end, and I lost it. I know, so surprising. Okay, so that's my fun tip of the day with the sandwich and the extra special recipe that I discovered works really well. And like I said, we had that discussion, and you know, our dies work with just about any machine because we're not you know, a machine or die company specifically. So it's always interesting to see what works with what, you know, formula and what machine. So that's some of the discussions that we have there, and it's wonderful. I love it. Okay, next we're going to add, so I just had that kind of hanging off the side just a little bit. And I'm going to add my flowers now. So, well, the big white ones anyway. So this is kind of how I roll. So let's see. So I'm going to do one like here. I'll do one down here. And I will do another right here. Okay, so again, I'm kind of I'm true to my word. I'm doing the bigger flowers first. And I just want a little bit of that die cut to come through. If you want more of it, just add your flowers over a little bit and you'll see it better. Okay. Oh, really? Gail's on the chat, and she is saying, if you rub wax paper between your fingers, they will literally fall out faster than the tool. Oh, very cool. Try. Oh, did I say it right? Do you still need special plates? That's a good question. Yes, you still need the shim. Okay, very cool. Yeah, the shim. I don't know. I bought it. It was like $20, I think, on Sizzix and or your favorite craft store. I don't know. They all have them everywhere. So I personally love them. Okay. Next, remember those beautiful little flowers I had, which I cannot find now? I set them aside for later, but I don't know where I put them. This happens to me every show. Okay, well, I'm just going to keep moving on without them. Maybe I'll find them eventually. Okay, so I put the little velvet ones on here somewhere. I don't know where those are, but hey, we still have the little white ones, so we can add those. Oh, my mother's calling. Hi, Mom. I'm not going to answer right now. I'm going to be kind of rude. I'm normally not rude to my mom, but she doesn't know what I'm doing. She tries not to call in the middle of the day sometimes, so she probably wants to know what we're doing for Easter. That's if I could guess. All right. Okay. So next I'm going to add those other little white intermezzo, little creamy ones. Oh, I see some flowers on the floor, but those aren't the ones I wanted. All right. So again, I'm just kind of tucking in around. Tucking in these little guys. Oh, let's see here. I kind of like to have them sprinkling up the front of the book. There, just like that. And then I have that little bingo card that I did save for the front cover. And what I did is I just kind of had him like kind of laying a little askew in the middle of the big flower. So I'll put a little glue there. There we go. And the little bird. Now, this little bird is adorable. He's got a little love letter or something in his mouth. Now, what I did on my original book, just because I wanted to, there was just a little too much white around the outside of. So I will sometimes, you know, just take my scissors and just trim off a little bit. And again, to hide some of the added inkiness or terrible cutting, if you're not a very good cutter like me, just use a little bit of brown ink to ink the edges, and that will take care of any remaining white left if you're not close enough to the image. Okay. All right, so just gonna kind of do that. Okay, and then I just have him, I think I'm gonna put a little pop dot underneath him and pop him up. Okay, just like that. And then I'm going to take the green leaves. Remember the ones I sprayed? I'm actually going to use some now. I got a little paper thing. And now I can kind of see where it just needs a little bit of greenery. Again, leaves are meant for accents, not to be the showcase, because the showcase is the flowers, right? But we want just a little bit of color in here. Okay. And do you see why you put your beads and your little art ingredients on last? Because you never really know where you're going to be moving stuff around anyway and where you're going to be putting it. Yes, I have cut embellishments in half, Janelle. By accident, of course. Yes. Get a little crazy sometimes. Okay, and then I'm going to grab a few more of those little branches that I had talked about earlier, the little punch-out ones. And I like to kind of put them over top the leaf. And these, I think I was very generous with. I just used a whole bunch because I thought they were so pretty. And the leaves are a little too plain sometimes. So you just want to kind of get that little bit of dimension going. Let me show you. See that? See how it just adds something to the leaves, but it's not totally covering up? Okay. The magnetic plate will not fit the Cuttlebug. Well, that's, yeah. Yeah, magnetic plates, they would have to make their own special magnetic plate, I think, for the Cuttlebug, for sure. I think they should. But, you know, I'm not going to tell them what to do. But I had a Cuttlebug. I don't have one anymore. I have a couple of big shots, and that's usually what I gravitate towards now. Because I got sick and tired of having to cut stuff to put in and die cut too. So I needed a bigger one for bigger pieces, and then a smaller one just to have on my table so it doesn't take up the whole, you know, table space. I also tucked in just a little, kind of like a little ticket here. You see that? So this is kind of, you know, you can just sift through that whole little pile and pick out what you like. And sometimes it's just fun to fill in little spaces with the little die cuts like that. Like they just look so cute in there. Can you see that? Yeah. And then I'm going to add another one up here on top. I have this one here. It's kind of cute, right? So take that. This is why I put glue in the ends or the center of everything I use so that I can continue to tuck in where I like and add things where I like without having to disturb the whole thing. Because sometimes you don't know you need something there until after you start putting it together. It's just kind of nice to have that. Now, I'm pretty much set. Now, once I find those other velvet brown flowers, I can add those on later. I'll show you which ones I need. Okay, so here's the original book. Remember these guys we pulled out earlier? So I added one here, and that's it. And then I guess I have another little white one and those little ones. So those are the only thing I'm missing. So if you go to remake this book, that's where you'll add some. And I also did the bead work along the cover, just like I did on the inside. So I have all kinds of little texture going on there. And I also did it in the little spaces in between the flowers and the die cuts. Sorry that it's not focusing too well. There we go. See that? And the other cool thing is too is you could take a paintbrush and let's say you don't have enough, there's not enough darkness throughout here. Take a paintbrush, dip it into your color bloom spray, and just kind of manually add it later. So like you can fill in spots if you want to that way too. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to go over, and I'm just going to show you guys how I put this together. So over here, so here you have your cover, and I looped the first two pages together just by adding seam binding. This particular color is called Rose Beige seam binding. So I tied the two pages together and made bows. And you remember those little charms that came in the little ephemera pack? I hung those with some jump rings and some little crystals, so you can kind of have fun with that and have those kind of dangling off the side. Okay, then for the inside pages, I just used the seam binding and I just tied the simple knot. Okay, you can do bows if you want. See, I just did a little simple knot here and here. I cut off, I had bows and it was just like too much. It was like bow overload, too much. Okay, so then I did the bows on the last two. Okay, so I connected all three or all of them. Here's what it looks like on the opposite side. So I have bows here, tied and cut off with just knots, and then bows here. So when I had bows here, it was like, whoa, too much. But hey, maybe you guys would like that, and I don't judge. So, you know, you do whatever you want. So then it ends up being an accordion fold if you want, just like that. and it just folds together. Of course, I'm folding it backwards, sorry. But do you see how much give this has? And it's very flexible. You can use twine, you can just, anything that's like a smooth ribbon will work best. Or maybe even a stretchy lace. Okay. You got your rose beige. Oh, Zandra, yes, you got your rose. Hi, Zandra. So did I explain everything well? Do you think you'd be able to rewatch, follow along if you're going to make it? If not, please feel free to ask me any questions right now, and I can help you if I missed anything. Yeah, you can color your own white seam binding. Absolutely. That's a great idea. Okay, so we've got the cover, we've got the inside pages. I mean, I still have all of this left. I still have all of these left. I have ephemera galore. So you, with all of this stuff, you could make several of these little books for friends or gifts for the holidays. Okay. Oh, thank you, Robbie. Thank you, everybody. Awesome. Okay, good, good. So thank you so much for coming to the show. Thursday night, we have Delana on, and Delana is going to alter a really cute canvas bag using her Julie knitting stamps, and it is adorable. So stay tuned for that. That's on Thursday night, the 24th, I believe. Yeah, the 24th at 6:30. Like I said, I'm not keeping track of my days too well. So at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. And it's going to be totally adorable. All right. And I'll see you then. If I don't, have a great weekend. But, you know, we love having you guys here. We appreciate all of you coming to our shows. And we hope that we continue to inspire you throughout the rest of 2016 for sure. Okay. So thanks, guys. Have a great day.